All right, welcome back to another live episode of the Relationship Series. My name is Gina Spataro, and this is my brother Sam Spataro, always talking about the matters of the heart and mind. Tonight's topic, we are talking about tolerating toxic behaviors or not. So that is definitely up to you for sure. How's your week been, Sam?
My week has been great. Yeah, I was mentioning to you before the broadcast went live that I've been doing this Beachbody program, inspired by a local girl that we both know. And I've been going about 10 days straight now. I've lost about 5-6 pounds.
Yeah.
And I've been eating a lot healthier, been a lot more disciplined with a lot other things that I've wanted to pursue, which is doing other videos on our other channels. And one of the channels that I've been working on. Work is great. We just finished a big project, hallelujah, that seemed like it was never ending. We're on to another new one with a pretty cool guy. It's actually quite funny. I worked for this guy originally about 6 years ago. And then I ended up, not working for a while. And he called me for a job that I couldn't get to. And I called my now partner to do it. Now we're both working on this guy's project again, which is pretty cool. Weather's been nice. Kids and I and the wife have been actively enjoying this warmer weather that we've had this week. And I've been getting back into my passion of cooking and just feeling really good. There's a real estate opportunity that we're potentially pursuing that we're not really telling anybody about because it's an if. Don't want to jinx it. So yeah, lots of things looking on the bright side. How about you?
Great week, actually. This week I've had, honestly, as soon as the weather shifts into warmer weather, like my energy just
I know. It's like
100%.
a shot of vitamin D.
Honestly. So it's been a great week that way. Tackling a lot of things on my checklist, getting them done. Going to start up another women's group shortly. So excited to meet these women, see what we can do for one another. That's about it.
What's the premise
of
the new one?
Same thing. So it's just a new starting point. That's all. So I'm going to see if they're looking for a shorter duration. So that way I can just target certain topics.
Like a condensed version of what you're doing already?
Yeah. So I'm gonna
like an accelerator.
So I'm going to see what their interests are. And then, I mean, I have my idea of what it would look like, but I need to see what their needs are too. But other than that, it's been great. I have nothing to overly talk about. It's been a great week.
Perfect.
So I'm going to let you kick off this one, Sam. So tolerating toxic behaviors. I mean, let's get real. We've all either exhibited them or we've experienced them. I think if we're being people on a human level, I think that would be the truth. What do you think?
You want to pop up that banner with that quote that I
that quote. You keep talking there. You keep talking for a minute, and I will. I'll put that.
only if my phone was on, I could share it specifically. No, I was saying you don't get into a relationship to tolerate. Sorry, loving someone in a relationship isn't tolerating toxic behaviors.
Right.
Loving someone in a relationship is demanding and asking them to change them. So many times, I think for all people, they get into relationships, we end up tolerating things that are conducive to the things that make us happy in relationships, whatever it is that they might be. And the question is, why do we do that? And it always relates to 3 of the greatest human fears, and one of them obviously being the fear of being judged. The second fear is the fear of not being embraced and accepted. And the thing we all fear the most, which is the third fear, is the fear of not being loved. So there you go. To love someone doesn't mean you tolerate toxic behaviors. Loving someone means you demand toxic behaviors to be changed. And I think, in the context of love, there's so many different variations that you can come up with. But if love is infinite and love is growth, if love is connection, if love is adventure, if love is all these things that it's supposed to be, then the question is, when we get into an intimate relationship with somebody that we end up becoming really close with, why do we tolerate toxic behaviors that aren't making the relationship better, that don't make you feel really good in whatever context that it might be?
Yeah.
You know, it could be their communication style.
Yeah.
You know, it could be, you know, the way they are with money. It could be the way they are with your family or their family. You know, there's so many variants in the form of toxic behaviors. You know, but at the end of the day, I mean, loving someone means you demand toxic behaviors to be changed, because that is a form of love. It's saying, hey, look, you know what? This isn't working for me. This isn't healthy in this relationship, and this must be changed, and there is no negotiating on it. You know, and the question is, 99.9% of the people in relationships, you know, don't end up doing that. The question is, why? Why do we put ourselves in those situations?
Yeah. Well, I think a big one is fear, right? And I mean, I can say I've experienced them, and I've probably exhibited them at some point in my life. And a lot of the times it's a scarcity mindset, you know, and for both ends, fear of loss, fear of rejection.
Is it scarcity, or is it that in your mindset and your belief system, you believe you should be tolerant? Because in a world where there's 8 billion people, is it possible that humans and men and women aren't scarce?
I don't think, for me, I don't think that it's the belief that we should be tolerant. I know that when I've experienced it, I know that I knew that it's something that I shouldn't tolerate. Like, I could consciously say to myself, like, this isn't, why am I tolerating this? I would completely give someone else advice not to tolerate this, but here I am tolerating it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes maybe, but I think some people are able to differentiate the fact that they shouldn't tolerate it. I think it's fear. I think it's loss. I think it's self-esteem. I think it's a lot of things why people tolerate it.
But what makes us tolerant
Hmm.
is a belief.
Hmm.
Being tolerant is an action derived from a belief,
Okay.
because you won't do something unless you believe that which you're doing,
Hmm.
right? You just don't act out something unless you believe it, right? Everything that we do is, you know, at the core of us derived from a belief first, and then obviously we create a thought, and then we create an action that we carry out, right? So in a world where people are abundant,
Right.
right, and in a world where I would say the majority of people in relationships are tolerant of toxic behaviors, meaning things that don't make them feel good, don't make them feel loved and connected, don't make them feel appreciated, like they're being heard and listened to. So the real question is, what is it that allows us to be tolerant of these things? And that is beliefs, you know, at the core of us, right? At the core of us, when you're experiencing anxiety, your core belief is fear,
Hmm.
right? But on the opposite spectrum, you can also believe that it's excitement, because it comes from the same nervous system. But what you believe about it, one or the other, you experience differently and will do two completely different things, right? So the question is, you know, is it tolerance, or are we just tolerance of specific beliefs? Now, whether it was something that was nurtured, something that you've seen, something that was developed, right? That's, you know, that could be a good talking point, right? But the question is, yeah, why do we tolerate them? You know, and for me, you know, I believe we tolerate them because at the core of us, there are specific beliefs that, like you said, tie into your self-esteem, your
Hmm.
self-worth, what you value in life, what you value about yourself. There's so many different things, but at the end of the day, at the core of it always is the belief.
Hmm.
You know, are you in abundance? Are you in, the highest possible state of picking the best quality beliefs? Or are you not? Right? If you're not, then you will tolerate those behaviors and you will continue to keep feeling the same way without any changes.
Right.
Right. So the changes need to come forward in this to make the relationship great, to make it a relationship that's abundant of love and change and connection. And the first thing that needs to happen is you have to see what it is that's you're thinking of or you're feeling right away as soon as these things come up. And at the core of it, it's just like you said, the fear of being judged, not accepted, and not being loved. And if you believe that when you're faced with a challenge in a relationship with somebody, then what you tolerate persists.
Yeah.
Right. And on the bad side of this is obviously, things never change. And then you can start getting stressed about it. You can get anxious about it, maybe even depressed about it, sad about it, countless things. And then eventually you feel like you're dying inside the relationship. Right. So yeah, so this would be a good talking point. So the question is, we identified that it's derived around a belief. So what do you do? What are your thoughts?
It's tricky because, okay, obviously, first and foremost, you need to recognize that what you're experiencing or delivering is toxic, because there's so many people that will go through life and, believe that their actions aren't wholeheartedly. Or vice versa. There might be that, nagging, subconscious mind that's like, oh, this is normal. Everyone goes through this. This is so normal, right? Maybe because people haven't experienced something different. And that behavior has become their normal to experience. But what to do? I think first and foremost, you need to read your body's cues as to know if this is something you need to take action against. If you're feeling drained, if you're feeling your worth is feeling compromised, if you're feeling that you can't be expressive without judgment, I feel as though, whoa, did you hear that wind? I feel like
Was that the wind?
Yeah.
It sounded like somebody was opening up your door.
No, it's like my windows are like, oh,
Shaking?
yeah. Holy is it not windy there?
No.
Whoa.
Is it really? Is it snowing outside?
I don't know. It's just very
For those of you who don't know, we live about an hour and a little bit north of Toronto.
Yeah.
And this is the warmest week we've had all winter. It's been like plus 3-4 degrees the past few days, which is super cool. But tomorrow, we're falling back down to the negatives again. So, which is good. I'd like to get in some skiing before the snow fades. But back to the topic there. No, there's some good points.
But what to do? You confide in someone that you trust, and maybe they can, someone without that, that won't pass judgment in the sense of, that they won't take your side for everything, even though you're wrong. So someone who has a clear head and can give you some great sound advice. Seek counseling. And here's one thing you can do is build up some of that confidence and try to express yourself about how you feel about something, and notice the reaction you get from that person that you're with. If it's the reaction you were expecting, where it was like talking to a brick wall, or whatever they say, they blame you for. If your predictions are right, then I would seek some more, counseling or support to help you get through it if you know that there's something not right about the situation you're in. What about you, Sam?
So for me, it's all about beliefs.
Okay.
So the very first thing you need to do if you want to take action about this is, and I'll just give you, a basis of myself, whether it comes to being in a relationship, a business partnership, or employees that I had, or a place of work, or even growing up. I was always one that would drive myself crazy mentally to figure out how and what to say it in a way where it wouldn't be offensive, I wouldn't hurt someone's feelings, and the story can keep going on. And what happens is that you end up staying in your head.
Right.
right? You end up coming up with feelings of guilt. Am I going to hurt somebody? Is it okay to say this? Is it not? And the thing is, you start to devalue yourself in the process. So the very first thing you need to do if you want to get out of that space, because it's going to cause you anxiety, it's going to cause you stress, it's that uncertainty of what if I do this, is you just have to believe that at the core of you, that if you're in a relationship and at the core of it, the belief is love, then what must you think? That the quality of my communication is going to determine the quality of my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so it isn't a negotiable, right? So what to do? Create the belief that love is everything in a relationship, and that I always communicate what I feel, and I don't give up, and I don't surrender until it is heard and something is done about the problem or the thing that is hindering this relationship, because it's going to make us more connected, feel more loved. We're going to be more open with one another, and it's just going to create a stronger bond in the future. So at the core of you, when a problem occurs, if that's what you believe, the first thing you're going to want to do is take action, because you know that it's going to make you feel good to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times do we spin off in our heads because we get back into that reptilian side of our brain, which is always spinning off those what ifs, and we talk ourselves out of doing that.
Right.
And then what happens? You continue to suffer the consequences of inaction. And the consequences of inaction simply means no progress.
Right.
And if you want to die inside, have no progress.
Right.
Action cures everything, despite how pretty or ugly it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think at the core of it, one thing we need to understand when it comes to relationships, action cures all when it comes to things that aren't helping out. If there's toxic behaviors, toxic things are going on that aren't helping, you must take immediate action and do so, because it's in the name of love. And at the core of a relationship, that's what it is. It's intimacy, it's love, it's adventure, it's connection, it's sharing, it's growth. And I think that's really important. The whole thing is, because at the core of us, it's not who we are. I mean, for the most part, I would say almost everybody, it's going to take work to get there. And it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel wrong, because you're always taught to be, we're always taught to think about others, all these sorts of different, things that have been thrown at us. But the question is, if you value yourself really highly, then you're going to value the other person just as much. If you're going to value hurting the other person, you must value your own hurt as well. Mm. So what you have to believe is that taking action is the cure.
Right.
Right.
So that's the action plan. Taking action is the cure.
Action is the cure, because it creates results.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be pretty. And I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I think I mentioned this before, wife was doing homeschooling here and was doing something with my son. And I came in and, it was something about what they were discussing. And I didn't exactly, now that I think, I didn't say it in a way that was very conducive. It was actually a bit demeaning or whatever. And she freaked out and lost it on me. And normally I would get mad. I would get angry. I'd be like, this is BS. Why do I tolerate? And I got in my head. But prior to that, I set some goals for 2021, right? And that was that, I'm going to use the best quality emotions I possibly can to solve any problem, because any problem is solvable if I wish to put the energy and effort in. And I said, because this is a relationship, I'm at the core of me, I believe that, anything is solvable if you're in the right mindset and choosing the right emotions.
Right.
And so what I would normally do is I would get quiet. I get stuck in my head. I'd get in this anxious loop of all these thoughts would just keep spinning off. I would get into stress. I'd get into all the other things that have happened over the past 20 years. Right. But this time I made a conscious effort not to do that.
Right. And
what would normally take 2 to 3 days to solve that problem, it took minutes. Right. So it was acknowledging that there was an issue, putting, as much as me not wanting to suffer, not putting her in suffering by choosing, old ways of communicating that aren't very conducive to a relationship. And I decided to get out of my comfort zone and decide to use words to solve the problem and show how I'm feeling and understand how she's feeling rather than the silent treatment.
Right.
You're going to know how I'm feeling because I'm not going to talk to you.
Right.
Right. And then 2 to 3 days later, you've wasted that time, that energy, the resources, and all the negative spin-offs that come with it. And at the end of the day, if you can pull yourself out of the situation and the habits that you've had when it comes to taking action, we all take action regardless, whether it's inaction or action. There's some form of something we're doing. If we're not vocally doing it, we're internalizing it and doing it in our own heads. So some energy is spinning off. It's just what's going to be the outcome. And later that night, even she came back to me and acknowledged some things that she could have done better, and boom, it was solved and we moved on.
Yeah.
So action cures everything, even if it's not pretty, even if it's, if you don't know how to do it properly. I mean, we are all average at best when it comes to communicating, right? So I definitely would say, aside from the first part where you got to develop some good beliefs and some thoughts about taking action, it's not things you negotiate with, because at the core you believe that love is at the core of you and at the relationship. And then you immediately take action on those beliefs and those thoughts because you have specific outcomes that you're already focusing on. What is this going to create in my life? More peace, less anxiety, less stress, more love, more connection, more solutions, right? More adventure, more love, more happiness.
Yeah, I think anyone who's stuck on how to overcome this or possibly be better, that you can be the force and the energy and the love that your relationship needs, because someone has to identify it. I think there has to be someone in the relationship that needs to understand that change needs to occur. Because if you're both on the same mindset where it's like, no, it's you, no, it's you, no, it's you, like it's just a rat race, right?
Well, I mean, if you want change, you have to be the change. And only
That's what I'm saying.
it's like in any organization.
Yeah,
There's always the leader,
100%.
right? Be the leader.
100%. Yeah, I think that was fantastic. Is there anything you want to close off with, Sam, before we head off?
You know what? I mean, obviously, 2001 has presented some uncertainties as well as 2020. But I believe, as long as at the core of you can work out, where you want to always go in the face of any challenge you're going through, whether it's a relationship or anything with your kids, your job, your business, whatever it is. At the core of you, decide where you're going to go emotionally. And then specifically and intellectually choose a couple thoughts that you want to follow with those emotions. And then immediately come up with an action plan. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then specifically focus on what will be the outcomes and the results of making these changes. And one thing I can tell you, especially after some minute changes that I've made over the past couple of weeks, it takes small changes to completely alter your future. It's those little minimal things that have huge rewards down the road.
Yeah.
One step at a time, you can climb a mountain. And, and that's what I'm suggesting here. I'm just saying, move forward, take one step forward, and realizing that this little incremental change will have lasting, profound effects on your relationship. And like we say, relationships are matters of the heart and mind. Absolutely. And if you're stuck in your mind, then, you're going to miss out on love, which comes from the heart. You need to use both intellectually.
That's great. And on that note, this is the relationship series, always talking about the matters of the heart and mind. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and share this with anyone that might be in a relationship like this, who's seeking some kind of change within themselves or within the relationship itself. Share it with them, and we will see you all next time. Ciao for now.